UI consistency behavior is very true because everything's happening in your view model and you're really just looking up to your UI. That's it. I don't know why it's 3:15 development. I didn't. So these are just resources for MVM Cross. If you actually are interested in this, I can give you my card and I can send you these. But it's just he has a bunch of awesome YouTube videos, which is not on here. I should add that actually. And there's just like for everything you can possibly do. He has like it's called M+1 days of MVM Cross, and here's the blog for it. But there's also videos that are like I don't know 30 to an hour long a piece, and there's like 40 of them, and they show you like if you follow those, you would basically know how to do everything possible. I've never even watched all of them. And he has all of his source code up in GitHub, so if you sometimes you ask him a question and he doesn't feel like answering it, he says go with it. So that's always fun. All right, so back to the MVM pattern. Get into this a little bit more. So you have your view, as I said. They're separate for each one. So iOS is called a view controller, which is a little bit confusing. It's really just a view. It doesn't do much controlling. Android, it's a XAML file. XML, I say XAML. I don't know how to say that. XML. And also an activity, but you don't do much in activity. We'll get to that. And then Windows is a XAML file. It's literally just like it. I don't know. XAML kind of reminds me of like HTML. It's super easy to just say I want this here and put stuff in stack panels and blah blah blah. View model. Middleman, coordinating between things. It has a knowledge of the view's implementation, but it's not like tightly coupled to the view at all. Communicates with commands, like I said before. And it also is working with views. So that's my second part of my demo is I'll show you how you navigate between view models and how you kind of pass data between them. And model is just, like I said, just kind of classes that are your logic and your data. Ooh, time for demo. Cool. Any questions before I start the demo? No, that was like a shit. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that actually will probably help a little bit. Okay. We're just going to start from scratch here. And hope that I know.
What is that program?
This is Xamarin.
Studio. Okay. All right.
Welcome, Dante. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to make is a portable library, and that's going to be your core project, called like a PCL, and that's where your view models and such are going to live. So I'm going to name this, and then core is that project, and for the solution name, we don't need core, so we're just going to say MVM demo, and then core is the name of this project. Okay. We'll go ahead and add that. And then the next things I'm going to do is just go ahead and right-click on the solution and add my Android and iPhone project. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new project. And another thing is, if you watch Slodge's videos, or his name's Slodge, if you watch his videos on YouTube, he goes through this every single time at the beginning. So by the time you watch 3 or 4 of them, you'll know like this is kind of a little bit complex, and you have to like add certain things. But by the time you watch them, you'll understand. Okay, so let's do iOS first. So these APIs, you want to use Unified from now on. That is the new API that they put out, and you can't. I'm 90% sure that you can't submit apps to the App Store unless they're on the Unified API from now on. So a lot of people will make Classic. I don't know why. I guess and update it later. I don't think you can put them in the store without it. Anyway, so I'm just gonna make iPhone apps just to make it easy, empty project. So then we'll just name .iOS. Okay, and lastly, I'm just gonna add my Android project. Application. Okay, so now we have our 3 projects in here, but there are a few things we need to do before we can get started. Do want me to zoom in or can you read that? Okay, cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through, and so if you notice, oh wait, yeah, so I need to add MVVM cross. So since it's a framework, it doesn't just come straight with your project. So you're going to need to add it to all 3 of your projects. So if we go to add, yes, you just search for it, it'll be the top one. And so add packages. You'll watch it kind of add some magic files over here. We'll go into those. So it'll just do that for all 3, and then if we start setup. Okay, so now we've got all these crazy files that it added. I'm going to go ahead and set iOS as my startup project, so we're going to start there. And by the way, setting a startup project just makes it so that when you press run up here, you can run it on. We'll do that. Okay, so the first thing you do is you have this folder called to do MVVM cross. So if you open this file, it'll tell you the things you need to do in order for your application to start running. So we'll go ahead and add first one is add a reference to core project. So obviously those 2 need to be able to talk to each other. So we need to add reference to the core so that when we create these view models, they know that they're there. So now instead of add NuGet package, you're gonna add native reference. And just erase what I just said. Okay, you're gonna add. Okay, edit references, and then you've got a whole bunch of stuff here. And we find our core, go. So then you'll see in here we have reference to core, so they'll be able to talk to you. Okay, and then so modify app delegate.cs to create blah blah blah. So I'll just show you. Okay, so app delegate is sort of like the first thing that gets hit when your application is open. So this tells your application what to do when it first starts. And so this is the app delegate that just comes with iOS, and that'll just give you a window and put a screen in it. And so what we want to do is take this app delegate.txt that they gave us, and we're just gonna go ahead and take everything out and replace what's in here. Actually, let's go ahead and put it above it so you can just see the differences. And we gotta resolve our issues here. Okay. So it's really the same thing, app delegate, and then instead of inheriting from UI application delegate, there's an MVVM cross specific one that you inherit from, and then there's just some setup here to start the application. Still your window that gets put in, and then there's, I don't know what this does, this is magic, it's just to start the app and so it knows that's MVVM cross. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to say is magic through this because it's 6 but I'll try answering your question. Okay, so now let's try to run and see what happens. Should just be like a label there that says like hello world or something. Not always. Why? Hello, there we go. Okay. So, got that stuff there. So let's go ahead and show you the view in iOS. So they automatically gave us this first view here, and that's how that label got put there. So there's just a label and a text field, and they're bound to the same property here. So we'll come back and show you what that means. But so So they just put those there for us. The only thing I want to show you in here before we go into the view model is this usually would, remember I just showed you the application delegate, how it inherited from UI application delegate and it changed to MVX app delegate or whatever. Well, this would normally do UI view controller, but it's MVX view controller because that's his special implementation of the view controller so that it will listen to these bindings and stuff like that. So super important that you have that or else it just won't even navigate to this page because it won't be able to find it. Because another thing that's magic is we're going to go ahead and go to the core and we have, so what happens is your views, so we have this first view here and that's going to map to this first view model. And the way it does that is it just takes your view model, chops off the word model, and looks for a view with the same name. So if I were to name this earlier, I messed something up because I made a second view and I named it second view controller, and it was like, I don't know what that is because it just looks for that name. So you have to make sure your naming it matches, and that's also helpful for someone else that's just going to look at your app because then they're going to know where. Okay, so let's look at the first view model. Okay, so we have just a property in here. It's just basic programming property. We have it returns your string here, sets it whatever you have. And the other thing I wanted to show in here was I don't know why this is on. Okay. So raise property changed is going to be, I know earlier in the presentation I said I notify property change, so that's pretty much what that does. And so all the bindings subscribe to this event. So if hello property gets raise property change, the view knows that since there's a binding here for hello, I need to change myself. So I'm going to show you an example of that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add just an int, and then I'm going to add a button so that we can increase the number of the int. And so then we'll see how this actually works. I can set some breakpoints and show you as well. So I'm being lazy and using snippets because I don't want to mess up. So added a counter here, and so again there's just like a private property, and then the public one returns a private one, just how we just had it. And then next thing I'm going to do is, I know you probably heard me barely mention an I command, so I'm going to go ahead and got to resolve that. So I just have this command that's called increment counter command, and it just, all it does is just call this increment counter method. And I'm just doing counter plus plus, which if you've heard before, you know that's just going to add one to that. Okay, so that's what my view model looks like. Super simple, 2 properties, don't even need a constructor or anything. And so now we're going to go to first view. And so since I deleted the hello property, it's freaking out. It's like, I don't know what that is. Okay. So, so we're going to just delete these labels. Also, I just need to distance. So now I added, as you see here, I've got just a label, plain label, and then right here I have a button and it says increment counter. So when we click that, we're going to set up the command. So let's say this label is now going to be bound to bm.counter and for IntelliSense. And then the button, it's just called button. So what this does is like it binds whatever's in here to whatever you type in here that's on the file. So I can just bind this to increment counter command, and this should work. But before I run, I need to do this because iOS just gives you navigation controller set. It just gives you a navigation bar, and it's just going to be in my way, so I'm just going to hide it. Okay. Now this should run and give us a label that says 0 and a counter button. Woohoo! Okay, so now if I touch this button, it's just going to keep going. It's super easy. But it just, I mean, it is just to show you guys kind of like how you bind things. And so I'll show you this, how this gets set. So increment counter, counters at 8. Now if we, that's weird. Okay, now counters at 9, and we're in the race property change, so that's going to happen. Okay, any questions before I'm ready to move on to Android if you guys are. Go for it. I see a question in your eyes. No? Too many questions? Or
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is, I think I just,
Okay.
you speak on binding.
Yeah.
What does that mean in layman's terms? Like, a file or?
Yeah, okay. No, that's fair.
Is it like hyperlink?
Kind of. Well, the counter command is sort of like a hyperlink. So when that command is just like when you are gonna click something, that's gonna be called. So yeah, sort of like a hyperlink.
So I could just say the increment counter to like press this button.
You could, but your user doesn't see that. So this is just for you. And so if I come into this app and I don't know what the heck's going on and I walk in and look down, I'm gonna know, oh, this must be incrementing the counter because that's what it's called.
Oh, so that's
Right.
not what the user is.
That's not what they see at all.
Oh, I see.
You can rename the button like, I don't know, like +1 or something, and it'll just keep
I
adding
see.
1.
Okay.
Yeah. So the user has no idea what's happening to view model. This is just for you, and it's kind of just to keep organized for yourself. But like to put bindings in layman's term, I'm trying to think of like a scenario. Man, I'm so good at putting things in layman's term, and you got me stuck.
No, just use your regular language.
Right? I know, but binding is like it's a word. Okay. You're really get out here. It's again a magic thing, so it's hard to explain. So like,
So what is its functionality?
so if I have here we go. Why did I no mark this? Okay, so I have one box right here, and then right here. Then this, oh, I have another way to do this. So then I have a circle. And so if this circle changes to a square, I need to tell this. So that's what binding does. So every time it changes, it's going to tell this. And another thing you can do is, we will be doing this in a minute, but you can also say, well, this is my view. Marco's great. And this is my view model. Okay, so if I need, what if I want to change the square on this, then how's this going to know? Yeah. There's a property that you can set in the binding, just called two-way. So that way, if I change something here or here, they're both going to know. Which isn't always necessary, and you only want to do it when it's necessary just because of memory, because it has to stay there, you know, they have to know about each other all the time, and it's coupled. But if you don't need it, then you don't. Well, I'll show, maybe my next example might be help you kind of clear up on that. But we're going to do this counter one for Android. Really, it's going to be super quick because we already did the view model part. So all we need to do is the view. So that's why Xamarin's awesome. So, okay, so let's go ahead and start a project. Okay, and then we're going to do the same exact thing that we did in iOS, and that is go ahead and go into this. To the text that tells us, again, add a reference to your core project. You need to make sure it knows about that view model. And then remove main launcher activities. And so that's confusing because it's not called main launcher, it's called main activity. And this messed me up yesterday. I was like so lost, I didn't know why my app wasn't working. So you do have to delete this. So we can just go ahead and remove. So let's go ahead and test and make sure that's not. And then another thing is that the Android simulator is awful. It takes forever to run. Everything, it's like hard to debug. So someone came out with this like virtual machine basically that you can send your Android app to, and it's a lot faster. So just gonna go ahead and get that running. Should get it. So then you can just pick your device in here because like default is something weird. And that's what it's called. Actually, that here. That's called 55500. So we'll just run. Excuse me?
Sorry, you're on a 1 minute delay for the broadcast, just in case something happens.
Just in case something something good happened. Okay, I don't know if this worked, but I wasn't my plan to run right there anyway. So let's fix some things first. Okay, so Android is a little different than iOS. In my opinion, a little bit more straightforward. The bindings might make a little bit more sense to you at this point. So Android has a views folder, and so we have our first view, but why do you not know what that is? You know what? Sometimes, welcome to defaulting Xamarin. Sometimes you just have to quit and restart because it doesn't know what it's doing. Okay. But so that in that views folder, we'll have our first view, and I mentioned this earlier that Android uses activities, and so this is the activity for that view. I'll be the first to admit I don't know as much about Android nearly as I do iOS, but the activity is basically like a code behind that you don't really want to touch unless you need to. And what that does is it helps control the layout file. And so if you go to resources, layout, we have a XAML file that correlates to this. So we could open it. This editor is horrible and pointless. So that's what it looks like. But what we're actually going to work in is we're going to go ahead and open it with source code editor, and this is what it is. So we've got every file is basically just going to have a linear layout. It's either going to be horizontal or vertical, and then you just kind of stack things in that. So that's how you build Android views. So right now there's an edit text and a text view. So I think that's what we were seeing when I ran is that edit text, and it wasn't binding to hello because hello doesn't exist, so it was just empty. So this is Android, and so the binding. So in iOS, you could kind of see that the binding. Let's go back. You have to kind of create this binding set, and bind things to that even if you added them right here already, and you can't do it like in the actual property. But so Android is I added a text view, and I can do my binding right here, right in that text view. So it's you're not lost, you know what's happening, blah blah blah. So it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit harder to debug sometimes, but I think it's pretty straightforward. So now I'm going to need properties for the button and for the text view. So I'm just going to grab those. Interesting. Well, I'm just going to take it out, I guess. So I've got text view and a button here. Sorry about that little delay. So my text view just set some text color, set to fill the parent, so that's just kind of Android thing. And then, so your bind is, you have to put what you want to bind and then the property that you're binding to. So I want to bind the text of this to the counter property, right? And then so the button one is I want to bind the click of this to the increment counter. And so it's just whatever you want to bind, space, whatever the property is that you're binding to. Sorry, I keep saying binding. I can't think of another like better word to use. Okay, short. Cool. Works. Very exciting. But it's cool because I didn't have to reset up that counter property and that command and stuff in Android. So I mean, it took me a third of the time to get Android up that it did for iPhone. So it saves time, and like we use it for our clients as consulting. Like you're gonna save money on this because we can do it a lot faster. And then whenever you want to update your app, it's really easy for us to do it rather than do it in 3 separate places if you want it for every single platform. So we use this a lot, slowly actually. Okay, so the next part of my demo is still MVVM cross, still binding, still buttons. The only new thing is we're gonna make another view, and I'm gonna type in my username and pass it to the next view. So we'll see how you can kind of pass variables around and things like that. So I'll do that with iOS first. So we don't want these because we're just going to change these completely. We don't want a counter anymore. We want a username, and we want a command that allows us. There we go. Snippets mixed around. Oh, that's. I don't have a snippet for this, so we're going to win. Okay. So we've got our username. That's going to be the same. So now I'm going to make a command. This is why I don't like codes. It's just that's usually the naming convention for these commands, by the way, is hey. Okay. There's so many pieces. So. Okay, and then yeah, so this is the naming convention. I have next command, and then so in here I just have next. Just drop the command off, and then name your next. So now I have to make a method for that because it doesn't know where to go. Cool. We're just going to leave that empty for now, and I'll come back and show you what we want to do with that. But so we've got our username property, just like the counter property we had before. We're just going to use it a little differently. We're going to use that two-way that I was talking about earlier. So we're going to delete these, and I'm going to show you something cool. So if you, in iOS, you can do the labels and stuff just like I did in code like that, but I don't like to. There is another, I can't show you this yet. I have to wait till we make the second view final. Sorry, I got so ahead of myself. I was so excited about that. Okay. I'm going to, okay, so I've added now a text field for username for users to enter that in, and then a button that says next, and so we can go to the next page and pass the username along with the button. So what I need to do here is change this to text username, and I want to bind it to and that two-way was already there, but we're just gonna leave that because if we didn't, then the view model wouldn't know when the user was typing things in. So the only thing that would update is if we changed it in the view model, but we can't, right? Because the only way we can do that is typing. So that two-way tells them to listen to each other, right? There's not. It seems like there should be a way where you can just do one way, like reverse, where I'm only telling you that. Sorry, I feel like I'm making more. Okay, so button is now, just forget it.
I have a question. So in this instance, would you ever really need a two-way here? Would you ever utilize this, like that two-way right here?
Yeah, I use it all the time.
You really?
For like a login, like if I had to enter my username and password. Well, I'm trying to think of a time where I would use it where it actually is both ways, back and forth. Yeah, so so I'm building an app right here for West Monroe, and we have, when you're testing, we have these like buttons on the side. And so those buttons will tell the view model what to put in the username and password area.
Okay.
And so then it'll update on the view model, and then it'll just come up on the view, right? So like a kind of weird scenario, but that was the first thing that came to my head. So yeah, so then it works both ways back and forth. Okay, so now we're gonna make our second view, so that we can go ahead and pass that variable. So first we're gonna make the view model. I like to start there, just kind of makes things clear. So, and I think file, and for view model it's just a regular class. So we're just gonna call this view model. And the first thing we want to do is make sure we have the MVX model here. And that's how it knows to use like those race property changed and things like that in the MVX command. Let's delete this because I already have it. Cool. So now we've got our username property and a new thing here to show you. This is just an empty constructor. We need this because we're going to basically create this view model from the one before it and pass the username, and the username goes into the initializer is what it's called. It's just another kind of magic thing that MVM cross does. Anything you want to pass to the view goes into this method. And then also if you have like, say if I were to go to a view and I need to like download some stuff from the internet, that's going to go in this method as well. It's just everything that sets up that view goes in here. So we're passing the username, and the first thing I'm doing with it is assigning it to the username property that I have up here. And oh yeah, there we go. That's sort of a back and forth thing. So if I were to have another field where I could edit it on the next page, that would be a reason to have two-way, right? Because I'm setting it in the view model, and the view needs to know that it's there. Cool. And then also then I'd be able to change it as well. So if I had, we're just gonna do a label though, just to have a simple example. So okay, so we've got our second view model, easy enough. So we'll go ahead and add a second view to iOS. So add new file, and we can go ahead. I'm an Android project. I was like, where's my iOS option? Okay. There we go. Add. And iOS, we'll just do just an iPhone view controller. And so the difference between view and view controller is view won't give you this .cs file right here. It'll just give you like a view. I don't know why you would ever use that, but I'll show you what the view controller gives you. It gives you two things. Okay. And so it gives you this, which we've seen before. I delete this immediately. Never used it. Don't know if I should. Not sure. And then it gives you this thing called a nib file, and that is an iOS specific thing. So I can open this, and it's going to open in Xcode. Xcode is where you make native iOS apps with like scripts and stuff. It looks much prettier than Xamarin. Okay, so we've got our just a blank view here, and I like this much better than doing things programmatically and like adding a label. It takes way freaking forever. And like if you need to add 8 things to a view, it can take so long. So here we've got, I'm just gonna quickly, there's like a lot of stuff going on, but I'm gonna quickly walk you through whatever I can. So here we've got different things that we can use. So we've got, well, the first thing I'm gonna do is a label. And also these lines are nice because I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is in the center, but that's perfectly centered there. Centered, and then you can also like center the text and stuff up here, so you know. But you've got a bunch of stuff in here. You can add buttons. You can add an editable text field, switches. You know, the iOS table views, images. You can just drag and drop stuff on here. You can also, I can change this to like orange. I can change the view's background color somewhere. Do this. So we will, okay, so now, oh, forgot something important. So I added the label, but as of right now, just dropping a label on there, my view controller, like where the code goes, doesn't know it's there. So the thing I have to do is add this thing called an outlet. So if you go into this like editor view, you can see 2 files next to each other. So, and again, this might be kind of confusing. You don't have to do it. Some people really prefer to do this in code. I've learned this way, I guess. So where I head. So you can just drag and drop, make an outlet. So you name it. We'll just call this username label. Make sure you save in here, or else nothing will happen. And then so, then if we go back to Xamarin, we can see up here it says synchronizing changes from Xcode. So it knows that I'll have IntelliSense in here where okay, and then we change this to second view. Well, it's not letting me fix that myself, so I'm just going to take these. So what it does when you right click and like resolve things, it just adds a statement up here. So if you're using the right library, and then so you're going to do your stuff in here, and then the last thing you're going to do is set apply. I just do that at the beginning or else I'll forget. And so we do set find, and then our property is username label. Look at that, it's there for us. So it saved the changes from Xcode and put that in there for us. To the model. So we bound that to the username. So the last thing we need to do before we get this working is make sure we pass the username. So in our first view, we have this text box where you can type the username in. It's bound to this username property. So if we go to view model, this username property will be whatever the person put in the box, right? So we can pass variables like so prepared, you guys. You're doing great. What? Thank you. Okay. Okay, I don't know how to do it. Okay. So you do show view model, and that's just a method. And you can see this just like pops up with the things. And so these are the things that it takes. And it takes whatever you want. Like these, you can make it not send these things if you want because they're nullable. That's what that means. So what I'm going to send is a parameter bundle because the parameters are what go into that initializer. Okay. And so you can make you make a bundle and it can have like as many parameters as you want. They're in the form of like a dictionary. So the syntax for that is So. Let me just take, okay, so we're just gonna steal this section and put it on the second view and text, but we now want to bind to username, so we'll keep that there. And then I'm only doing this because I know it messed me up earlier, but this line, I'll show you. But when I try to build, it's gonna fail with some very, very weird error. Error parsing unbound prefix. Took me like an hour to figure out that it's because I was just missing this line. Like when you make a new view, it just doesn't put that in there for you. So very Googleable though. That's what happens to me. Yeah. Okay. So, oh, last thing we need to do is if we look in our first view here, we have this set content view. So we need to make sure we put that in our code behind our second view, or else it's not going to know what to put in that like kind of frame that's there for it. So we're going to change this to second view, and should be good to go now. Very quick. I still have to work out. I have to change it. So this is going to be a text, edit text. And the text is username. And this is going to be a button that says next. And the nickname. Thinking this should just come up on. Not find view for second view model. Interesting. Oh. You guys want to sit and watch or figure out why this is so hard? Okay. What's your name, sir? No, no, not Trace. Wow. Did I miss that? Spell something wrong? I don't know what's that. You guys have questions? Do this all day. So I'll answer questions all day. Thanks for coming, by the way. I don't think I've met any of you before. Have you been to these before? No. Okay, good. I was like, I hope that I didn't just say that. You guys are like, I've been here all the time.
All the time? Don't you remember me?
It's too late.
So when that happens, what's wrong?
Yeah, so what happens right now is, so that's in the MVVM cross. So like I said, remember earlier when I said, so the second view model, it just chops off that word model and looks for the view. It's something similar to that that's happening. I'm not exactly sure, but the reason, well, what I did was I checked this, this application output, assuming that with all this crap, something would tell me what's going on, but nothing at the bottom said that like anything failed. Right? So, not even legible. So yeah, it was like it's something because when it does that show view model, it goes into a method in MVVM cross that kind of finds the view that you need. So something got eaten in there. And that's another thing is that if you're having problems with show view model, you can make your own presenter because then it's easier to see what's going on. And so what happens is you just override what his show view model method does, and you can do your own things, and you can see like, oh, like where is this trying to go? Like where am I coming from? And so like we do ones in our app that's like show view model, and then you can pass like parameters that say it's a modal. And so then our presenter knows it's a modal and does the right thing to present that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. This is a new one. I'm sure it's some silly issue, always.
This has nothing to do with this, but is there, like, when you're dealing with an app, is there a way that you can see the source code of an app?
I know. If only. My gosh, that'd be awesome. I wish I could see Facebook source code so much.
PHP.
Like, yeah, I mean, you can see some of that stuff on their web,
Yeah.
but not for just since it's like all packaged and put to you, you can't. So far, at least. It's kind of new still. You might be able to eventually.
Why is that?
I don't know. I bet you can probably do it with some Android apps. I bet there's someone that's gone and taken an app and unbuilt it and done it and it's worked. But iOS, it's so locked down. You have to submit through their store. They take it and like hold it on their server and don't let anyone. So I think it is a good way to learn. It is. But a lot of people put their source code online.
They do.
So GitHub is a really good place for that. A lot of even like bigger companies, you'd be surprised, have some like awesome apps up there that you could look at. Yeah, we have a couple that whenever we do we call them pro bono, like just free projects for like nonprofits, we put those in GitHub just so our clients can see our work, so people can see what we can do and stuff like that. So there are plenty of projects that you can take a look at. And also if you're interested in mobile specifically, really any programming, there's just so many resources. Like I taught myself from just Googling, reading books, watching YouTube videos. It's totally possible.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Could you show us like the apps that you've done?
Yeah, actually. I can show you the one that we use internally to enter our time. We have to charge time to clients and stuff,
Yeah, we want to know how much you made.
That doesn't show you that. And it shows you how much people pay for me to work, but that's not how much I make. I'll tell you that much. Do you want me to show you I'll run you through the admin. I'll see what you guys want.
Sorry about that.
What is that?
I don't know how I got that.
Is that your phone? Is that your camera or is that like a
It's my
text?
camera
tone?
taking a picture. I really don't know how that is.
You can't not smile when you hear that though, so it's pretty nice.
I don't know. Women seem to like it. I just don't know how I got it on here. Just one day I started doing that. I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Oh yes, that is so fun.
I just wish I knew how to turn it off though.
This app is like, it has like 5 screens. Pretty simple. It has like a login and then your home screen. I'll just kind of add some stuff. The presenter, and I can talk about that a lot, but basically we have a massive presenter. Okay, so this is just, I logged in with my account so you can see all the projects I'm on. For you. I need to not have this specific. Not really though. Okay. We're just gonna bear. So you've got just a table view here. These are just headers. You can't click on them. And these are your projects. So you can kind of click on one of these. Actually, and then you can enter like what you did. I'm pretty proud of the fact that this moves around with your keyboard because that took me a while. And then save it. You can like copy and paste yourself. Another thing is you can add projects. So say I need to add something from this. It just comes up immediately with that. And if you cancel it, doesn't actually add it to this. So you can actually put hours in it. You've got a log button. That's like pretty much it. And then if we've got everything going back over here, we've got we still have this to do again cross folder, which should really have been deleted. Windows Phone you can't open in Xamarin. So you have to open the same project in Visual Studio. Not sure why. I think it's sort of silly, but I think it's probably a Microsoft at this point. They tried to buy it and Xamarin said no, so they're probably mad at each other. Yeah, so we've got our like services, table views, cells, which are just your custom cells. We've got them all over. Table sources, those are what control your table view. So we've got that project table source that is like just this crazy file. Oh, it's not even a big. Oh, it's gonna be much bigger. Just kind of number of sections. Section, great cell for this. Blah blah blah. So just kind of highlight specific things. Another thing I can show you is Xamarin has really good documentation. So these are their guides. So getting started. Set up an installation. You can make a Hello iPhone app. These are just for iPhone. And there's also a whole other one for cross-platform, Android. So Xamarin has this new thing called Xamarin Forms, and you can write all 3 applications in one. Nothing separate. It's gonna be great in like 4 years, but it's just so new. It's really hard, and like everything you try to do that's like anything like kind of custom, they're just like, it's not gonna work. So it's a super cool idea, and I'm really excited for when it does start to work. But as of right now, it's super funny. Yeah, so you go through here and like, so let's just put out fragments. I don't know how to do about those together.
You have new glasses, don't you?
No.
No?
Like maybe like 6 months.
Oh, okay.
I might be a little tan. Why is this so huge? Yeah, so little pictures shows you what they are. A lot of these things will have like yeah, so and then so there's like creating a fragment, managing what they are, blah blah blah. I should do this. I have no idea what the camera is. That's it. It's nice. Yeah. Oh, that's the next thing I need to do. And there's not really much else to show you. This is just a simple little app. I can't show you any of our other apps because they're all for fun.
Why?
Why? Do it anyway.
Thank you, Kristen.
Did you want me to practice on you? That's it for me. You guys come to our other games. They're super fun. They're usually like 10 times more people here, I promise.
How much
This
is the
topic was super specific.
sorry, the Xamarin?
So there's an indie license that you can get for free just to play around. But to do any actual damage, it's like $20 a month or something like that. But you can, I think you can actually still publish an app with the indie version. No,
I thought we were saying.
no, yeah. It is, I mean, we have like a Xamarin Enterprise, like a relationship thing, and that's just out. It's like $100,000 a year or something. Like an entire 2 employees.